When was the last time you witnessed a developer, large or small, release an IP that was previously cherished by many and revolutionary for its time, only to see that game after so many years being balanced on the edge of what gamers are willing to tolerate and pay for in terms of the limited features available that should be incorporated by default on release? I ask this because Capcom demonstrates just how far they're willing to test those boundaries with the release of Dragon's Dogma 2. Which is a single-player game with a lot of removed and polished features from the original with limitations and a whole lot of other issues, including no ability to save several files, so you can forget about your family playing their own game because the devs are showing that they don't care or plan on releasing save files we as players should have by default. You know, those basic functionalities that every other game out there includes no matter the price? Once you beat the game, that is the only time you can truly restart, but with your current level and gear acquired. It makes no sense that you just can't do it like they did it in the original. De novo is typically only an issue for crashing and poor performance, and other things that we are all too acquainted with on the release days for most major developers that use it because it does increase their sales, even if it is a hindrance for the mass majority of their player base. Many players are understandably upset, but they're also spreading false information about the game in terms of customization. You simply need in-game currency to purchase a metamorphosis book or an appearance alteration from one of the cosmetic NPCs to change the appearance of your character. This of course does not make it any less annoying that they left out the ability to start with a new game. The thought might cross your mind to erase the save files which are localized on your computer, which would allow you to start over, but no, this could very well activate the de novo anti-tamper, which will permanently ban you from accessing the single-player game that you paid anywhere from $80 to $100+ on based on where you live in the world. If you haven't been following Capcom over the years, they've been slowly lowering the bar in many of their previous titles, integrating not microtransaction features, but rather a common one-time DLC package that can be obtained through actual gameplay that many other studios have been incorporating in their games over the years, such as Tales of series developed by Bandai Namco to name one of them. This is usually to motivate folks who do not want to waste time and simply play the game, but I see why people detest it. It should be included in the Deluxe bundle, which I believe would have received less backlash than this manner. It's just now that this is blowing up in their faces because I don't believe their current Dragon's Dogma audience has paid attention to their previous catalog or workings in the years since the first game, leading to the overwhelming backlash for something that they don't really know a lot about. More or less, it just feels like they're just jumping to conclusions not only with the claim of MTX, but also the understanding of pawns, rift stones, and much more that this game offers. If you're familiar with the original game story, it felt rushed and poorly put together until the very end. Everything here feels the same. The dragon appears, he steals your heart, and now you want to slay it due to how it was foretold in the world's cycle. However, everything up until the true ending, which was basically just a long cutscene, was poorly done. Though this could be owing to the performance flaws with a lot of the characters appearing to having their emotions either repressed or magnified, making them appear more comedic and silly when they are attempting to be serious. I truly do believe that the best part of the story was the secret true ending, which was simply again a very long cutscene in which you are just listening and moving your character around, as opposed to everything else up until that point in which you were fighting gigantic bosses, climbing all over them and attacking their weak points. It even made me have a strong connection with my main pawn, despite the fact that they were all excessively talkative and irritating with no capacity to shut them up besides muting them in the settings, but doing so would cause the game to be a lot more quiet than usual. The whole story was okay, to put bluntly. Though for a game that costs this much, the presentation isn't particularly impressive because it's entirely optimized for 30 frames per second and of course has many issues due to de novo, while occasionally using very realistic visual cinematics as evidenced by their cooking cutscenes, which I feel like really broke the immersion for me as a player. Speaking about cutscenes, if you ever find yourself in one with dialogue, be aware that they are live cutscenes, which means that you can be ambushed in the open world while it is playing in the background with no way to cancel out of it to survive if you're not in the safety of a city or a town. The extended periods of silence while you slowly jog around the world while constantly running out of stamina was very tiring, since you needed to keep eating stamina food and potions, all of which seemed to have no ability to be rebound to specific hotkeys for controller and PC, giving you no say in the matter with poor optimization. So you will be spending a lot of your time opening up your backpack and managing that while taking you out of the world entirely if you hate using the default force keybinds that they push onto you, as the keybinds will use the weakest version of the thing that you're trying to use. The longer you spend out in the world fighting, getting hurt, and not sleeping, the lower your health will become, which can be quite bothering as you try to survive while not being anywhere near a camp, city, or a town with an inn. But that's just the identity of Dragon's Dogma. Limited travel, organization of supplies and whatnot, which I personally never liked. The number of times I've lost all of my pawns and resources due to weight limits and being pushed off of monsters, thrown off cliffs, bugged out of quests, trapped in caves and between water due to the presence of the brine from the original and many other features was quite astounding. This honestly feels like an overconfident attempt to bring back a game that barely peaked in its popularity when it was released due to being overshadowed by giants like Skyrim, which never truly helped it get the recognition that people wanted it to receive because everyone thought it was just another poor clone until recent years when it started to spike in popularity. The gameplay itself lasted 18 hours for the main story, and once that was done, you could only reset for your second playthrough. So if you wanted to accomplish all of those extra side missions that you were supposed to do, you certainly should have done them first because there's no going back once you get to the end. After 15 hours, and even much sooner than that, it had become the same thing over and over again. Get a new quest, walk to the location, quickly becoming over-encumbered along the way, especially if you manage to lose a pawn, which helped lessen the load, making your navigation even more slow, which again, they've always wanted to be unique about, sort of like a realism behind slow exploration, tedious travel, and secret interactions like using Cyclops materials to ward off encounters while traveling via the ox carts. At this point, you would complete whatever mundane task was requested and then return to the original location, which if you forgot a fairy stone at this point, or could not find the town's portal stone, or have a portal stone of your own which you could place down yourself, then it would take you twice as long to return. You may come across a boss along your travels, hop up on top of it, and then fight it for 20 minutes while dying repeatedly, only to chug down a potion or eat some food that will keep you alive permanently even though you are literally dead, which is most likely just a bug because you can't do this with your hotkeys, but as soon as you fall through the air and take damage, if you're not constantly chugging down stamina to maintain a firm grip, you will die with no ability to save yourself out of nowhere. The save would then reset and remove the encounter entirely as you discovered it earlier, sometimes because the autosave happened again while you were in the fight that kept taking you further around the world if you happen to be flown somewhere on the back of a griffin. The gameplay feels quite specific, catering to those who are familiar with the original and understand what it's attempting to be, which is an acquired taste. I can't say that it was pleasant, but I put up with the frustrating gameplay to the point where I got tired of managing my own resources and stamina and just utilized cheats to allow me to play the game the way that I wanted to. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered finishing it. What I'm trying to say here is that it's a significant downgrade and a polished sequel to the original. There's nothing exceptional about this. There are a lot of issues, yes, but this game is once again not for everybody. Not the 20-minute escort quests, the badly executed fetch quests, or the poorly spoken narrative until the end. Personally, I like the original more. Even if you express your disdain, developers will always do their best to skirt the line of what they believe they can and cannot get away with, and how much money that they can take from you without giving you quality in return, until we simply accept what they are demanding from us to overpay for poorly designed games with a severe lack of basic features that should be there by default. I'll say it like it is. If you've played the original and you liked it, I'm very confident you will be able to enjoy this game. However, if you have never played the original and you just want to try something fresh and new, there's nothing here that will wow you because there is a reason why it was underappreciated for many years.